Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews. So recently I was talking with a friend about a potential trade because he had a figure that I have always wanted. I never was able to get it, not even as a child. It was always very rare back then, and clearly as time goes on, considering it is a Kenner figure from the Series 2 Jurassic Park line, it has only become increasingly more rare. So if I actually wanted to get one, I would have to pay a ridiculously high price. However, after speaking to my friend, he stated that he did in fact actually have one and considered trading me for it for some custom work done to some figures that he had in mind. And sure enough, he decided to go through with the trade. And here is the Demon Carnotaurus from the Series 2 Jurassic Park line. Now, if you are familiar with this figure, you'll know that it does in fact actually have a battle damage wound cover along with capture gear. I don't have any of that, and I'm okay with it. It's something that I may look for at some point in time, but I was so excited about the potential of actually having this figure in my collection that I am beyond excited. Even if it is missing the battle damage wound cover and capture gear, most of my figures, honestly, as far as the Jurassic Park line, are usually missing the battle damage cover or capture gear because as time goes on, those things get lost. They become harder and harder to find, so I'm okay with not having it, but I may eventually search it out just to complete the figure. But as of right now, I did want to get it up here on the channel just for you guys to look at with me, but also just to kind of shed some light on the fact that this is now in my collection and how incredibly happy I am to have it in my collection. So a huge thank you to my buddy for trading me this, and now I officially have all of the Carnotaurus figures, aside from I think there was a baby at some point, that were included with the Jurassic Park, Lost World Jurassic Park, any line that included a Carnotaurus. I do believe I now have them all in my collection. So as far as Carnotaurus goes, everyone that watches this channel or has watched it for a little while knows it's my favorite dinosaur. So to actually have all of the Carnotaurus figures from the JP toy line is really awesome, and that is a great accomplishment as far as I'm concerned, to have all of these now in my collection, aside from I think the baby one. There was a baby at some point, which I do have to get. But as far as the bigger ones go, we've got them all now, so let's go ahead without further ado and get a closer look at the Demon Carnotaurus from Kenner. So starting up here at the head sculpt, you can see the nostrils sculpted out quite nicely, and there's quite a few osteoderms all over the face, kind of like some very large ones in specific areas right there. You also have a few extremely large, like ridge-like osteoderms right there, right behind the eye. The eye is painted with a nice greenish coloration, has a nice black pupil and a white spot there on the eye to insinuate eye shine. The teeth are a little ridiculous looking, and I always thought that that was one of the stranger aspects of this figure from the images that I had seen, where the teeth are always a little bit too crazy looking, honestly, but in person, they're not as bad as I expected them to be, and honestly, considering how long I've wanted the figure, I am really happy with it, seeing it in person. It's honestly much better than I expected it to be, and the teeth don't look near as bad as I thought they did, although they do definitely still have a little bit of a goofy appearance to them, kind of sticking out of the front of the face a little bit too much. I think maybe the teeth should have just been a little smaller, and it could have looked a lot better, but even still, it doesn't take away from the figure. You've got the nice skin flap there on the inside of the mouth, very realistic color for that, and it definitely has some nice detail within. The tongue also actually has a really beautifully textured appearance to it. I was not prepared for that at all. Definitely some nice detailing on the upper side of the inside of the mouth as well. Beautiful realistic coloration in there for sure. The detailing as far as the head goes looks great. Look at that beautiful scaling all over the Carnotaurus. Even the lower jaw sports some fantastic scale work. If we take a look up here at the top of the horns of the Carnotaurus, there's not too much detailing to be found within the horns, but they still look really nice. They definitely have some, just not as much as we would probably see currently on a figure like this. Really nice kind of bumps and osteoderms and ridges all over the top of the head of the Carnotaurus as well. Taking a look at this side, once again the scale work, the detailing all looks fantastic. Really beautifully done. Even some nice movement shown in the face as far as skin folding, skin wrinkling even under the eye and everything. The detailing of the Carnotaurus on its head is just incredibly nice looking, much better than I expected it to be, and It's always fun to get a very cool older Kenner figure that has that real feel to it. I absolutely love that. As we start to move down the neck, again, you can see the really nice scaling. That scaling looks fantastic all over the place. And of course, those trademark Carnotaurus bumps and ridges that run along the animal are present, and they look really good for the most part. I do love the demon paint scheme on the figure as well. Really nice red up here, and then that beautiful dark black for the primary body. It looks extremely nice. You also have some osteoderms like right here. Here and there, you might see some paint on my hands. I was just painting recently, but you can see some osteoderms poking up here and there all over the figure once again. You've got that nice light gray there for the underbelly. Looks really good. This Carnotaurus almost looks more like a giant monster from a kaiju film than an actual Carnotaurus dinosaur. It has that very giant monster-like appearance to it, which I really do quite like as well. Moving down into the arms, you've got 3 fingers, which we do know is not accurate as far as the Carnotaurus goes, but considering how long ago this actually was made, it's forgivable. You can see that the arm itself really nicely sports some beautiful scaling, beautiful detailing, kind of like some scoots that run along the fingers, and then the really nicely painted nails with a kind of a tannish coloration, which does have a little paint chipped off of them, but I'm not too worried about that at all. Really nice scaling as we continue down the body. We get here to the hip area. The hip bone actually doesn't really appear to be present or elaborated or anything, but you can definitely see some nice musculature there in the thigh. As we move down the leg, you've got the kneecap present there. Really beautiful detailing as we come down into the foot. The nails are painted with that same coloration that we saw up on the hands. The dew claws are present. They're very large as well, but they're not painted, unfortunately. Nice creasing behind the thigh as we move out into the tail. I love how the light gray kind of creeps through the scaling in certain areas. That looks really cool. And then we move out the length of the tail. You can continue to see those osteoderms and stuff, the scoots that run along the Carnotaurus. They continue out the tail, as does that really nice scaling that runs the entire length of the animal. Looking at the opposing side, you've got some more nice creasing in the neck going on there. Beautiful scaling once again all over the body. I absolutely love the skin texture on this Carnotaurus. It looks extremely cool. Nice arm and hand sculpt once again over here. Very menacing, very demon-like looking as far as that goes. Coming back into the stomach region, once again really nice scaling all over the figure. That beautiful muscle tone in the very extremely muscular looking thigh. Coming down, we've got the very nostalgic JP logo right there. The foot sculpt once again looks really nice on this side as well. You've got that scoot-like appearance that runs down the toes over here, and then some more creasing right here behind the thigh. There is the dino damage area. As far as the open wound goes, you can now see some of the bone structure there, along with some blood and guts in there. Looks really cool. I always did love the dino damage on these figures. And then we run out the length of the tail, and it looks really good the entire way out. Really nice reds, really nice blacks, and then that beautiful light gray underbelly that runs the entire length of the tail. Again, Mattel, look how the paint runs the entire length of the tail. We should do that almost all the time. And for the most part, the figure isn't too beat up or anything. There's a few scuffs, a few paint marks here and there, but honestly, it's in really good condition, and I could not be happier to now have this in my collection. As far as a size goes on our Carnotaurus, from the snout to the tail, you were looking at about 14, just under 14.25 inches, or about 36, almost 36.5 centimeters. And then for a height to the top of the horn, couldn't really see it a second ago, you're looking at about just under 8.5 inches, or around 21.5 centimeters. For a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, and Robert Muldoon next to our Demon Carnotaurus, and you can see in comparison to those figures that it really is quite large. And as far as the Series 2 Jurassic Park line goes, I do believe it is one of the biggest of the line. I don't believe there were any Tyrannosaurs or anything introduced, so as far as Predators go, you've got some really good size to this figure when it came to that Jurassic Park Series 2 line, and honestly, it is so impressive due to not only its size, but the really beautiful appearance. So, this Kenner Demon Carnotaurus Jurassic Park Series 2 figure is just breathtaking in person, And honestly, adding this to my collection, I really feel like I have achieved something here. Like, it's a huge accomplishment for me to now have this figure in my collection. It's something that I've always wanted, honestly pretty much a dream to have this figure, and due to it being extremely expensive, I never got around to actually acquiring one. I always kind of had my hopes set on finding one for a cheaper price, because that's just kind of the way I am. I always try to find figures for the cheapest possible price when possible, and I always just kind of had my hopes up that I would one day find this for a really good price, and as it turns out, I was never going to actually find one for a good price until my buddy stepped in and offered me a trade. So all I had to do was some paint work for him, some custom paint work on a few figures, and here it is now in my collection. So it's probably one of the best decisions I've ever made, because I absolutely love this figure, and I could not be happier with this right now in front of me. It just doesn't even feel real to actually have this in my collection. I've wanted it for so long. This Carnotaurus, as far as the sculpt goes, again, you're not going to find an accurate Carnotaurus in this sculpt. Definitely not in the Jurassic Park toy line when it comes to this Series 2 version or the figure that was released in the Lost World toy line. Neither of those are going to be accurate Carnotaurus figures, but what you do find is a super cool, awesome Carnotaurus toy from the 90s, and that, my friends, is awesome. The sculpting of the figure is actually really nicely done, and that's not really that surprising, because Kenner always pulled out absolutely brilliant sculpts, especially for their time. They maybe, again, weren't the most accurate dinosaurs. At their time, they might have been considered accurate, but by today's standards, they're definitely not, but they were really beautifully detailed. The skin detail on this figure specifically is off the charts beautiful. The scaling all over this Carnotaurus is just absolutely awesome. The detailing, as far as adding things like the really nice osteoderms, the very bumpy appearance all over the Carnotaurus, also looks awesome. I really do like that as well. The paintwork is really nicely done. It has a really beautiful appearance with the black and the red, and then of course that light gray underbelly. Very iconic as far as this demon Carnotaurus goes, even to the point of the demon Carnotaurus actually showing up in Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom at the end of the film. So that is really cool that they did pay tribute to this figure and to the toy line in Fallen Kingdom. And deservedly so, honestly, because this figure is just beautiful. You also have to take into consideration the fact that it has the real feel to it, which is something that is so iconic when it comes to the Jurassic Park toy line, and that always has such a really cool nostalgic feel to me. And again, this is another one of those instances where this figure is so old, and yet the real feel material has held up so well. When you look at the Hasbro Jurassic World toy line, I recently did an unboxing of some figures that I got, and just from, what was it, 2014, 2015, when that toy line was released, 2015 I think, and the Tyrannosaurus Rex that was in that toy line was already starting to fall apart. It was starting to wither away, but here you have this Carnotaurus all the way from the Jurassic Park toy line Series 2, and it still is holding up perfectly, as are pretty much all of my Kenner figures in my collection when it comes to the real feel. It really shows you just how impressive the overall quality of Kenner figures really were. So this Carnotaurus is absolutely awesome. If you have a chance to pick this up, I highly, highly recommend that you do, because honestly, it is a great addition to any collection. I absolutely am in love with this figure. So I will do my best to find the cheapest one possible on eBay and include a link in the description, but even at the cheapest one, it's probably going to run you around $80, $90 if you're lucky. So if you do want to pay that price and grab yourself one, it is still worth it. It's just a little expensive. Even if it is worth it, maybe your best bet is to try to wait out. Maybe you'll get a deal like I did, but regardless, one way or another, if you are interested, definitely search it out. It is highly worth the hunt for this figure. And also, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.